This is part 3 of chapter 2. In the previous part, we talked about urbanization and the city life in Mesopotamia and also the writing practices. So, we are going to proceed further in the chapter. Please stay tuned. This is part 3 of chapter 2, and in the previous part, we were talking about the development of writing. So, we had said that writing had become a very important mode of communication, and people used to convey various important messages by writing on the clay tablets. So, we have said that clay tablets had become an extremely important part of the day to day lives of the people because the king also used to use or install various inscriptions on which various signs were engraved which used to convey some special messages to the people. But the writing in itself had started just for the recording of transactions. So the purpose of writing, it actually began when people started finding it difficult to keep an account of the various transactions that they were making with the foreign people, and that is why to keep a record or keep an account of whatever to and fro transactions were going on, people started keeping a record with the help of the writing script that they had developed. And these writings were done on the clay tablets. Clay tablets were basically wet, and when they were wet, they were used to engrave some wedge shaped signs on the clay tablets. And finally, when the clay tablet dried, it became easier to read. And the most important part about the clay tablets was that once they were dried, nobody could tamper with the clay tablets because it would be impossible for anybody to fiddle with the clay tablets and change whatever has been written on the clay tablets. So therefore, clay tablets were being used by the people. Apart from that, the wedge-shaped alphabets, that is cuneiform writing, was being used by the Mesopotamians. So building further on this topic, the next subtopic is the system of writing. So the first important point here is that the alphabets were wedge-shaped, that is, they were cuneiform in nature. Apart from that, the sound that a cuneiform sign represented was not a single consonant or a vowel. Like right now in English, whatever alphabets we have, they have a particular one sound of a consonant or vowel attached to it. But the signs that were being used at that time, they were basically syllables, and they used to have a different sound to them. So every sign used to have a different sound, and therefore the Mesopotamian scribe means whosoever used to write it down, the history. So Mesopotamian scribe had to learn hundreds of such alphabets, and it became very difficult for such scribes to learn these alphabets because they ran into hundreds. So therefore, anybody who could master the art of remembering so many number of alphabets, they were basically used to be considered intellectuals in the society by the people. So it became very important to handle a wet tablet because it was important that the scribe must write on the tablet very quickly because clay dries fast. So it was a skilled art, and nobody, like, there were very few people who could master this art, and therefore these few people were considered to be very important in the society. And actually remembering all these alphabets as once was considered an enormous intellectual achievement in the society, and they commanded a lot of respect among the people. Next subtopic is literacy. Now, literacy means that how many number of people are able to read and write. So in Mesopotamia, it was only a very few of the Mesopotamians who could read and write. Not only there were hundreds of signs to learn, but also these signs were quite complex. Like English alphabets are quite easy for us to learn to write, but the Mesopotamians, whatever alphabets or signs they were using, they were quite complex, and therefore not just there were hundreds of signs to be remembered, but at the same time all these signs were pretty complex, and therefore it was only a few of the Mesopotamians who could master this art of reading and writing the syllables. And if at any point of time there was a king who was an expert of reading and writing, then that was also considered a huge achievement, and the king would not leave any chance to boast about his achievement, that is his intellectual achievement of being able to read and write. And therefore the king himself would make his officers install a lot of inscription all around his boundary, so that everybody would know that their king was a great leader and also he could read and write. That that was how important it was for the Mesopotamians to read and write. They used to consider it an art which was pretty complex and difficult, and they used to see anybody who could read and write as an intellectual and a very important person in the society. So the next subtopic is the uses of writing. Now, why was writing important? Now, the connection between city life, trade, and writing is brought out in a long Sumerian epic poem about Enmerkar. Now, Enmerkar was one of the kings of Mesopotamia, and there is a long Sumeria is Mesopotamia itself. So, there is a long Sumerian epic poem about Enmerkar, who was one of the earliest most rulers of Uruk, and Uruk is one of the cities in Mesopotamia. So in this poem, it is said that Uruk was a city par excellence. It was a huge urban city, wide in proportions, and it was extremely popular. Apart from that, Uruk was also very famous for its trade. Now, this poem says that Enmerkar is associated with the organization of first trade of Sumer. Now, trade must have been started by somebody, so this poem says that it was Enmerkar. Enmerkar was the first person who actually made attempts to start trade with the foreign areas. Now, why he wanted to trade was that Enmerkar wanted lapis lazuli and precious metals from various other parts of the areas around his boundaries for the beautification of his city temple. Okay, so lapis lazuli again is a form of a precious stone which was demanded by Enmerkar. He wanted his officers to bring these precious stones to home so that he could use these stones to beautify his own city temple and make his temple even more grand. So this is why he sent a messenger to a very very distant land which is called Arata. Now Arata was a neighboring area, a neighbor to his own land. So he sent a messenger to Arata with a message asking the king of Arata to help him in the mining of lapis lazuli, and so that he can bring back this lapis lazuli for the beautification of his temple. So this messenger traveled and traveled day and night so that he could reach Arata. Once he reached Arata, the messenger talked to the king of Arata and requested him to allow him to take some of the lapis lazuli and precious stones or metals to his own land. So the king of Arata, he was not impressed by this demand, and he outrightly rejected the king, that is the Enmerkar, to take away any of the lapis lazuli or silver or any of the precious stones that he had in his area, that is in Arata. So the messenger again traveled back to Enmerkar, and he conveyed the message. So the messenger had to travel many a times from Uruk to Arata and Arata to Uruk, and there was a to and fro passing of messages from one area to another. So it happened. So in the previous time, you already know that there was no phone, there was no such communication modes. So it was only through the messengers that the kings could transfer whatever they had to say to each other through the messengers. So these messengers had to travel a lot. So Enmerkar thought that messenger might not have been transferring the message properly to the king of Arata. Therefore, it was this need that he wanted to transfer his message properly to the king of Arata. Enmerkar formed a clay tablet in his hand and wrote the words down. And he made it clear on that clay tablet that whatever demand he had, he made clearly wrote it down on the clay tablet. So in those days, there had been no writing down of words on clay. So when the messenger took the tablet to the ruler of Arata, the ruler of Arata was frowning, and he kept looking at the tablet because he had never seen something like that before. So this is a pretty funny story of Uruk and the king of Uruk, that is Enmerkar. So this should not be taken as literal truth. It is just a poem. It is just a story which has been told on in a very poetic note. But important fact here is that kingship was the first authority which had started the organized writing. So it was basically the king's demand at which the writing had started. So this was today's lesson. We'll start with another subtopic in the next part. So see you. Stay tuned.